8 steps to securing your router. Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Here's the question. I'd like to know how to clear history of my Linksys router. I'd also like to know how I can make it more secure and protect it from hacking. This topic actually is a very important one. How do you make sure your router is secure? It's your first line of defense against automated malware attacks trying to get at your computer from the internet to install more malware. You want to ensure that there aren't big gaping holes. And sadly, very often, by default, there are. So here are the most important steps to a more secure router. Before I start, I have to throw out a caveat. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different routers. Different brands and different models all have different capabilities, power, and of course, differing cost. Most importantly, they all have different administration interfaces. What that means is I can't tell you exactly how to make step-by-step changes to your router. The concepts I'll cover here apply to almost all consumer-grade routers. I'll be using an old popular Linksys BEF-SR81 router and a Linksys WAP54G access point as my examples. You'll need to translate my examples to the equivalent settings on your own router or access point. Make sure you have access to your router's documentation or locate it online. Here we may encounter a difference already. You may well have a single device that contains both a router and a wireless access point. You probably just refer to it as your router, but in reality there are two separate things in that box. A router that deals with network access, and then a wireless access point that provides your Wi-Fi connectivity. Like I said, they're housed in a single box. In my example, they're two separate things. Number 1, change the default password. If you do nothing else to secure your router, change the default administration password. That's not your Wi-Fi password. This is the password to actually administer your router's settings. Change it to be something long and strong. If your router supports it, a passphrase of 3 or more words might be ideal. The reason for this is quite simple. It has been a huge gaping security hole in the past. For many years, almost every router and access point from the same manufacturer was shipped with the same default password. For Linksys, if your login is a blank username and the password is admin, as outlined in its manual, well, then anyone and everyone knows it. Anyone can log into your router and undo any or all of the rest of the security steps we're about to take. Then, of course, also any malware that takes advantage of the default passwords on routers can also make changes without your knowledge. Fortunately, in recent years, most, though sadly not all, router manufacturers have gotten smarter. If the instructions that came with your router included checking a sticker on the actual router for the admin password, and that looks like a strong password, then the security hole is significantly smaller. Now, only those people who can walk up to your router and look at that sticker can get in. Needless to say, I changed the password anyway. Number 2, disable remote management. Remote management is a feature that allows your router to be administered from anywhere on the internet. While this setting, coupled with a very strong password, might make sense for a handful of people, for most folks there is absolutely no need to administer the router from anywhere but the local machines connected to it. Make sure that the remote management setting is turned off. Number 3, turn off Universal Plug and Play. Universal Plug and Play, UPnP, is a technology that allows software running on your machine to configure services like port forwarding, a way to allow computers outside your network to access your local computers directly without your having to go in and administer the router manually. Seems like a good idea, right? It's not. Turn it off. It turns out that malware can also be UPnP aware and then can make malicious changes to your router without your involvement or awareness. To clarify, by the way, UPnP is unrelated to Windows plug-and-play hardware detection. It's just another unfortunate collision of similar names. Number 4, add a WPA2 or 3 key. This time, we're going to add a password to secure and encrypt your wireless connection. First, use WPA2 or WPA3, not WEP. WEP encryption turns out to be easily crackable, and even WPA, without the 2 or the 3, has been shown to be vulnerable. Fortunately, many access points no longer offer WEP or WPA. Second, just as you did for the router's administration password, select another good, secure key/password/passphrase. The terms are roughly interchangeable here. You only need to enter it once here and then once on each machine that is allowed to connect to your wireless network. Having a strong WPA2 key ensures that only machines that you allow on your network can see your network, your traffic, and your router. Number 5, disable WPS. WPS, or Wi-Fi Protected Setup, does not live up to its name. It's not very protected at all. WPS was intended as a way to make setting up a protected Wi-Fi network easy. WPS would, with the push of a button, set up Wi-Fi encryption between the router and the clients that supported it. The problem with WPS is that the protocol is apparently flawed in such a way that it is vulnerable to a brute force attack. A malicious entity within range can force its way onto your network, bypassing any encryption keys you might have set up. WPS is enabled by default on many routers. Turn it off. Number 6, turn off logging. It has less to do with configuring a secure router and more to do with maintaining your privacy. Disable the logging and no information will be kept on the router or sent to any other machine. This should also clear any log that the router has. It's worth pointing out that most consumer-grade routers do not have the capacity to keep complete logs themselves. If they keep anything, it'll be a shorter partial log. When enabled, some may offer to send the log to one of the computers on your network for storage. Simply disabling logging will not erase logs stored elsewhere. Number 7, secure your router physically. As we've already seen, even if the default administrative password is unique to your device, it could still be visible to anyone with physical access to the router who can see the sticker on which it's printed. In fact, your secure router may not be secure at all if anyone could just walk up to it. All of your router security settings can also be reset in a flash if someone has physical access to the device. Almost all routers have a reset to factory defaults mechanism, usually by holding a reset button for a certain amount of time. If someone can walk up to your router and do that, all the security settings you've enabled may be instantly erased. Now, only you can judge whether or not you need this extra level of physical security, but at least consider it. It might be as simple as keeping the device in a locked room or closet. Number 8, check for firmware updates. Routers and access points are really just small computers dedicated to a single task, handling network traffic. Normally, the software, referred to as firmware since it's actually stored within the device's hardware, is solid and it just works. Unfortunately, security vulnerabilities are sometimes discovered, requiring you to update your router's firmware to stay secure. This usually involves downloading a file for your specific router and using its administration interface to install the update. Some routers can fetch and install the update directly. Either way, the update is a manual step you need to take. Checking to see if there's a firmware update for your router is also a manual step. Some routers perform the check at the push of a button in the administration interface. If not, you might need to visit the manufacturer's support site looking for information pertaining to your specific model, and then determine if a newer version of the firmware is available. There are 2 steps not to take. Each time I discuss this topic, folks make 2 suggestions for Wi-Fi that do not improve the security at all. In fact, they may harm security by providing a false sense of added security. The first is MAC address filtering. I discussed this in more detail in my article, Is MAC Address Filtering a Viable Wireless Security Option?, But the bottom line is that, like a cheap padlock, MAC address filtering really only keeps out honest people. If someone wants access to your network, MAC address filtering is easily bypassed. The second suggestion is to turn off the SSID broadcast on wireless networks. Even when not being broadcast, the SSID is still visible and unencrypted in the packets of information sent to and from the router. Disabling the broadcast does nothing to prevent someone with the skills from easily discovering it. I discuss that one more detail in my article, Does Changing or Disabling the Broadcast of My Wireless SSID Make Me More Secure? When it comes to Wi-Fi, putting a strong WPA2 password on that connection is currently your best Wi-Fi security measure. Bottom line here, of course, is to take the time to secure your router. It's your first line of defense against external threats, and it's time well spent. For updates, for comments, for links relating to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/11107. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.